Hey guys, it's Chandler, and welcome to the Healing Heroes.
I promise you.
I'm Chandler Stroud, an executive, wife, and busy mom of two, who after years of living with anxiety, health struggles, and an unshakable feeling like I should be happier, made a profound discovery that changed everything. Join me on a journey where unexpected paths lead to healing and more happiness. On this show, we'll explore unconventional ways to unlock more joy in your own life with the help of my very own healers and trusted advisors, the Healing Heroes. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Healing Heroes podcast. I'm your host, Chandler, and I am so excited that you decided to tune in today because we're doing something very special leading up to our 1-year anniversary in July, which is that we have put together curated looks at some of our favorite moments from the show for each of our heroes, and we'll be releasing those each week so that you, as listeners, can catch up on getting to know our heroes better without having to go back and listen to all of our past conversations. And for new listeners, this is a great way to get to know some of the heroes on the show. And so today I am thrilled to share that we will be highlighting hero and astrology expert Ophira Edut. Now, before we dive in, I'll take a moment to just quickly overview astrology and some of the cool things we've talked about over the many months that we have been having conversations together. So first, astrology is really an ancient practice that helps us understand ourselves and our lives by looking at the movement of the planets and stars. It doesn't tell us exactly what will happen, but it can reveal patterns, timing, and deeper truths to help us grow, heal, and make better choices. For anyone going through stress, burnout, or big life changes, as I was, astrology can offer clarity, comfort, and a sense that you're not alone. It's a powerful tool for self-awareness and personal transformation, kind of like this cosmic blueprint, as Ophira always says, helping you see who you really are and where you're meant to go. I personally had been following Ophira for years, reading her horoscopes regularly, trying to understand and know the why of me. Always reading about my sun sign, which is Aries. Quick shout out to my fire sign friends, and checking my horoscopes. I was so desperate for self-understanding and guidance in how to navigate this very tricky, uncertain world. And astrology really felt like that anchor I needed, where I could keep coming back to it again and again and again and feel like I had some semblance of understanding and or control. And so you can only imagine my excitement when I found a way to get in touch with Ophira and invited her to be a hero on this show. We have talked about so many incredible topics. Yes, of course, all things birth charts and astrology. Her new book, The Astrology Advantage, which actually is just so groundbreaking because if you don't resonate with your sun sign, go check out her book. It is incredible. If you have not felt seen by your zodiac sign historically, this book and your I am archetype might actually be what you needed to start moving from skeptic into hardcore believer where astrology is concerned. So we've had incredible conversations together, and my horoscopes, my birth chart have had such an important role in not just my healing journey, but going way back, helping me get a better understanding of myself and my design. And I think what's better than that? It's exciting. And so I am thrilled to introduce you to our hero and astrology expert, Ophira Edut. Enjoy.
Astrology is essentially the instruction manual that every human being comes with, even though they tell us that we don't. There's actually a blueprint. There's a code. It's based on where the planets were overhead at your moment of birth in relation to where you were on Earth. And if you were to take sort of like a screenshot of the sky overhead at your exact minute of birth, that pattern provides a roadmap to your life, your strengths, your challenges, your potential. You always have free will, but it's like the GPS that you came with. Like astrology works in two ways. There's the you astrology, which is your chart, your side, and there's the out in the world astrology, the transits as they call it, which is the predictive part. You can use astrology as a roadmap to you and understanding your psyche and intentions and motives and triggers and drivers. Or you can also use it to know, like, it's like a cosmic weather channel. Like, what is happening out in the world? What am I walking into? What are the planets? How are they playing with each other today? And what energy is that creating? Because is it going to rain? Is it going to be sunny? Is it going to be warm? Is it going to be hail? And it's kind of the equivalent of that. We say there's horoscopes and then there's astrology. Horoscopes are the day-to-day predictions or month-to-month or week-to-week or whatever. And those are really helpful too, because it helps you prepare and know, all right, maybe this isn't the day to record a podcast if Mercury is retrograde, for example.
True story, guys. I love the concept of having an instruction manual at birth. I think I believe that and how I use astrology in my horoscope, but really cool way of thinking about it for somebody who maybe hasn't considered astrology to play that role in their life.
Yeah. I mean, when I discovered astrology, I was in my 20s early. And it wasn't like, oh, I never knew this. Now I will just start acting like a Sagittarius. It blew my mind because I was like, how does it know this about me? I've been going through my life doing all these things. And this, it was a 30-page report that I started with, has said things that are so true and accurate about who I've been, who I want to be, natural abilities that I have. Like, it's too weird of a coincidence to be a coincidence.
Yeah. I have to ask, what was it that motivated you and your sister Tali to write the Astrology Advantage?
I would say in the 2010s, what started to happen was like the green juice, the yoga, meditation, avocado toast train left the station. And then workplaces started having, healthy food and healthy initiatives. So astrology moved out of the category of new age and into this kind of catch-all category of wellness. So I started being included in, those sorts of things, events and gatherings, and workplaces started bringing me in. Nike brought us in to, they had an experience marketing team. They had all their directors from from their global departments, graphic design departments come together, for, an annual offsite. And my sister and I did all of their charts. I spoke at the Milken Global Conference on a panel this year, just these very think tank and corporate places have embraced things like plant medicine, meditation. I think the pandemic also kind of brought it home because we couldn't ignore that health and work went hand in hand. We had to reinvent everything. So, all bets were off. So the Astrology Advantage, what I also noticed was over the last 15 years, I've been teaching astrology to people and doing readings and consulting, and lots of business owners and very busy, successful people come to us for planning and self-understanding. And they love what they get out of a chart reading, but they cannot retain it. If you've ever seen your chart, it's all these hieroglyphics. You're like, oh my God, I need this in my life, this Rosetta Stone, but there's no way in hell I'm going to remember all of this. And so it's like,
it is overwhelming.
Yeah. It's like astrology, astrology is a marketing problem. It's got to be MVP'd. I happen to be have a online business, so I have to stay in the digital marketing and product development language too. So I thought, what if astrology was made into a minimum viable product? What if it was crunch down into, one archetype, like a personality test. So we'll get into that, but there is a way of doing that we call the I Am system or framework. We've rebranded it, where you can use the power of your entire birth chart. That's 13 points, not just your zodiac sign, to get this full snapshot of yourself without having to remember anything more than just one of 3 archetypes. So it was a code I've been trying to crack for a long time.
Gonna make it through.
What are horoscopes and how are they different from astrology or astrological profiles?
Horoscopes are a subset of astrology, I would say, because astrology can make a map of your personality and your psychological profile. Your astrological birth chart is a snapshot of what the sky would look like overhead if you could see every planet based on your exact moment of birth and location on Earth. So it's the relationship. So astrology encompasses everything from the large trends of the planets, the profiles of people based on their birth charts, etc. Horoscopes are the advice or predictive pieces that you read in the newspaper, the magazine, on a blog. They're prediction based, and they're based on what are called the transiting or moving planets and how they relate to you, usually based just on your sun sign or zodiac sign, not all the planets in your chart. So they're more general. Therefore, for you as an Aries, a horoscope would be a general prediction. It's like the difference between, astrology would be someone coming into your home and measuring like the carbon monoxide content, the temperature of your house, the mold, all the specifics. And a horoscope would be like, if you live in, Rockland County, New York, this is what the general weather is going to be. If you're an Aries, someone born between March 20th and April 20th, you're likely to experience this kind of overall energy. It's going to be a sunny day. It's going to be a rainy day. You might, get a shower around 3 o'clock. That kind of.
I love that analogy. I think that's so clear and really breaks it down for those who may be less familiar and not sure if they want to check their horoscopes or if maybe a better first step is to really dive deep into their astrological profile.
Gonna make it through.
A lot of people have heard of fire, earth, air, and water signs, for example. The 12 zodiac signs are subgrouped into what are called the elements. So I'm a Sagittarius, you're an Aries, we're 2 of the fire signs, and that means we're fiery and go-getters and that kind of thing. But there's another subgrouping of the zodiac called the qualities, and that's what I Am is based on. They just have astro-jargony names that we've rebranded. So what I love about the qualities or modalities is that they tell you what drives you. They're very much aligned with like what you would do in a personality test. Like, what are your motives? What are your drivers? What are the temperamental qualities that you have that make you make those unconscious choices? I think I read somewhere that like 95% of the choices we make every day are made by our subconscious minds. So
I absolutely believe that.
So this is almost like the astrology of your psyche. So and your
cool.
motives. So yeah, it's something I've always been fascinated by. So there are 3 groupings and they're based on the seasons. So the first grouping are the 4 signs that start each of the seasons: spring, Aries; summer, Cancer; fall, Libra; winter, Capricorn. The solstices and the equinoxes. And those are what are called the cardinal signs. Fancy astro name. One you're not going to remember. So we rename that group Innovators. That's the I in I Am, because they are the ones that like to pioneer. The qualities that they have are of innovators. They're trailblazers. They like to be first. They're a little competitive. You're an Aries. You are one of the innovator signs, but you have to do your full chart to know which one you mostly have. Okay, I'll get to that part of it afterwards. But the second group, which was the A in I am, are what we call the authorities. So those are what are also called the fixed signs: Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. They're fixed, they're rooted, they're in the middle of every season. Innovator is kind of like the hunter, and the authority is like the farmer, or they come and they clean the fish, or the whatever it's such a, I don't like to talk about those metaphors, but they make sure that the resources are used well and planned out. So authorities are often in corporate roles, or they're like the responsible ones. And then the mavens are the 4 signs that fall at the end of every season: Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. I'm a Sagittarius, so my zodiac sign is in the Maven group, but I'm an innovator in the I am system, which I'll explain. So the Mavens are the ones that end every season. They're the gatherers. They're the communicators. They bring people together. So they polish everything. They give it that winning touch, or they take it out to market. So the innovator comes up with the idea. The authority produces it. The Maven markets it, buzzes about it, talks about it on social media, makes the viral TikTok, gets everybody into it and excited about it.
Gonna make it through.
How can astrology really help someone think about their career and getting ahead?
I think a lot of people start to doubt and second guess themselves, or they'll go into new situations, either bull in a china shop and get reprimanded and then pull back, or they'll go very hesitant and tentative, but they don't go in as their authentic selves in a balanced way to new situations. Our job is always to be evolving, and the world needs a lot more good leaders than it has. A lot of people have good intentions. You want to actually do something powerful and leave an impact and make a difference. And a lot of the times, people with that intention don't really get a chance to express that in their careers because they don't know which moves to make. So they become fearful. They start to avoid risk and avoid loss. They feel unsafe being who they really are. But when they stop being who they really are, they feel unfulfilled and lost and purposeless. So there's this big dilemma in our workforce. Everyone wants to get to bring their whole selves to work, but the culture feels unsafe to do that in. So I really love bringing astrology into organizations. Work needs a culture where individuality is celebrated and teamwork is actually fostered by systems like this one that let people be quirky, individual. They need to be more of who they are, not less, to thrive.
And to your point, I think if individuality and encouraging people to feel safe and be themselves at work is the end goal, then as leaders, understanding what your areas of strength are or encourages that kind of behavior can be so helpful.
I, as a Sagittarius, am naturally entrepreneurial and independent, and I need to be in a space where I'm inspired. In my own company now, we have what I call full-on versus full-time employees, and we really do work with people's signs and strengths and things that we know in their charts and create a way that they can work that works best for them. My Aquarius art director needs to take a pottery class in the middle of the day and walk her dog, and then she comes back. Great, please go do that if that means I get the best work out of you.
Gonna make it through.
What do you think makes horoscopes such a powerful tool for personal growth?
I think because we as humans are our own biggest blind spots. So we can't, we're designed, I think I may have said this before, but we're designed really funny. Like everyone else in the world can see us, but we have to look at a piece of glass to see ourselves. We're stumbling around literally blind to how we occur to others. So, I remember when I discovered the book, The Power of Now. It really hurt my brain at first to grasp the concept of becoming an observer of oneself. I was like, what does that mean? I'm just me. And then I was like, oh, okay. It's like kind of be able to get that distance where you can see yourself as another person would see you. And I feel that a horoscope gives you that, like, whoa, okay, that is true about me. I had this sneaking suspicion that this was happening, and now it's the validation again, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's absolutely true. I think the validation is so helpful at times. And even as we've talked in previous conversations, I love the way that astrology and horoscopes to some extent highlight where your opportunity areas are, but in a way that you can embrace them, digest them, and celebrate them in some cases, which I think is really hard for us to do when, we're hearing that firsthand, but stepping away and looking at it from an astrological or horoscope perspective, it's a little bit easier to identify those tendencies in yourself, I would say.
You're right, because a lot of personal growth work, is compassionate, which is great. It's about finding self-compassion. But there's also an undertone on a lot of it of like, and now you can fix yourself and be more like this one way that you should be, like even Atomic Habits, even though it's the #1 book forever and ever, and I love it, is like kind of about like, do this and your life will work. And I'm like, that will work for some personality types, but not all. So with astrology, you get permission to become the best version of yourself, but not as like a, now you suck, and if you do this, you won't, which is like, we're addicted to that.
Yes.
But like, it's a playful, fun, dynamic living. It's like being a lifelong learner. It's permission to be who you are and not have to like have every part of yourself fit together, and to kind of have fun with the idea of growth and a growth mindset. Like, personal development doesn't have to mean, one day I'm going to stop eating after 8 o'clock or whatever. I'm going to have the discipline to ride my Peloton every damn day. Like, it's just like, these are these unique traits about me that I've never even cultivated, much less celebrated. But I've even maybe tried to hide them because they're like, as a Sag, it's like we can be loud, we can be opinionated, we can be blunt. That's like, that is true. But I could be like, and that I can have some fun with that. I just need to modulate it a little bit. I have to be careful I don't bulldoze someone with the truth bombs, but I also can like be funny if I want, or like embrace those qualities. Or as an Aries, like, all right, you're fierce, you're trailblazing, you didn't wait for permission, you started this whole series, and it's so Aries, but
so Aries. So Aries.
Yeah, but if you didn't know that, you might be like, oh, who do I think I am? But well, probably not, because you're an Aries. But thank God you hadn't even questioned yourself. So.
Thanks, Ophira. Thank you.
Gonna make it through.
What exactly is a retrograde, and why do they have such a reputation for disruption?
The best analogy I make for a retrograde is if it's like two cars traveling at opposite speeds. Have you ever been in like a car or a train or on a bus and you pass each other and one of them appears to be going backwards?
Yes.
So that's what happens. So with astrology, we actually are measuring when a planet passes the Earth in its orbit around the sun, then it appears that that planet is going backwards because the planets move at different speeds. So that period of time, because we measure astrology, we measure the movement of the planets from our view on Earth. So it would look like they were moving backwards. And that's how we measure them degree by degree. So that would be a retrograde period. So Mercury moves the fastest because it's closest to the sun. So that one, those retrograde periods last about 3 weeks, 3 to 4 times a year. Venus retrograde is every 18 months, and that is for 6 weeks' time. Mars retrograde, which we just finished at this recording a couple weeks ago, that was from December 6, 2024 to February 23rd, 2025. And Mars is, about 2 months of retrograde. And, different planets are called, this is an ancient thing, but they call Saturn and Mars malefics and Venus and Jupiter benefic. So a Venus retrograde, while it can mess things up, like Mars retrograde can be really harsh. In the beginning of 2025, the first 6 weeks were under Mars retrograde. It has been one hell of a year.
Gonna make it through.
What are some retrograde rituals or practices that can help us move through these periods with more ease?
One that I really like is a forgiveness exercise that I did by accident once and found that it really worked. So when I was younger and had one of my many breakups, as we all do in our 20s, I would try to write an angry letter and burn it, or write a forgiveness letter to the person, and it just never really worked. But I did notice during retrogrades, we'll find where we're stuck in anger or sadness or grief or some emotional state that isn't empowering us. There's a difference between being stuck in it and processing it. So a ritual I like to do is writing a letter to yourself as though it's from the person that you are stuck with. For me, having a lot of Scorpio in my chart, although I'm a Sagittarius, I have like 4 planets in Scorpio, and knowing that, I'm like, ooh, forgiveness is not always my automatic setting beyond a certain point.
I understand.
Mm-hmm. So one piece of learning your astrological chart is to become more forgiving and less judgmental of yourself. That's the invitation. So I said, okay, I'm stuck in this. Let me write a letter to myself as though it's from this guy that broke up with me. That was the moment that started it. I've used it for other situations too. Bad business relationships or friendships that changed or went awry. So just start, dear Ophi, I'm really sorry that it didn't work out between us. I know I told you this, but the truth was blah, blah. I just let it kind of come through me, like however it was, however it wanted to. And I found that your mind can't really distinguish between whether the person is really apologizing or not. Like, as long as you have the experience of the neurons firing of like, oh, they are apologizing to me, you will undergo the process, the emotional process. I think they use the example of like people watching athletes racing and their muscles firing as though they were running the race themselves. So it's pretty crazy. So I have found that even though, I don't forget what happened, and forgiveness is a journey, it's not a one-time thing, I still was lifted from some of the imprisonment of the resentment and hurt that I felt, and able to be like, okay, this was a human that maybe I've elevated to superhuman status, and I can see them as a fallible human and forgive them a little, forgive myself a little, but just be released from the stuckness. And that's what I think any retrograde ritual that you do. Some people like to burn things. Some people like crystals. Some people like it to be less verbal and written. Some people need to dance it out and activate their right brain and their subconscious less than their left brain and the writing and verbal part. But any ritual that frees you from the grip and allows a releasing. Maybe you need to scream and write. Maybe you do need to write the angry letter, the F-U letter first before you can write the other one. I just happened to have written a lot of those already.
I can't imagine why, having all of those Scorpios there.
Right. Exactly.
Those are great. Thank you so much for sharing those practices. They're very, very helpful to understand, and I think really accessible for anyone to try on their own. So this has been great. Thank you so much, Ophira, for joining us today. I loved hearing more about retrogrades. And now everyone, all of our listeners know their importance, how they can be beneficial, and how to look out for them by subscribing to the Astro Style newsletter so they can have a heads up when these important milestones are coming. Obviously, we share it on our Instagram, our social channels, all of your weekly horoscopes and monthly as well. But go submit your email and you'll get the emails right to your inbox, guys.
Awesome.
And to everyone tuning in, if you liked today's conversation, please share it with friends and don't forget to subscribe. You can also visit healingheroespodcast.com to get resources, meet the heroes, and share your ideas for future episodes. Thanks for listening, everyone. And until next time, remember, be curious, be courageous, and be kind to yourself. You've got this.